What are cryptocurrencies?
Hey, hey, hey.
What are NFTs?
A non-fungible token.
Time to buy Bitcoin.
Bitcoin just seems like a scam. What's up? Bitcoin!
Hello everyone, welcome back to On The Ledger. This is your host Moel Said, and I'm back once again on your weekly rendezvous from Paris. How many of you have started collecting NFTs in 2021? I suspect many, myself included. Last year I completely fell down the rabbit hole of crypto art, discovering new artists, projects and movements, which led me to build a small collection of mine and explore all the creativity and innovation that this space has to offer. And to be honest, it's a mind-blowing dose of daily inspiration. But it wasn't easy at first. I didn't know where to start, what to choose, when to collect, how to stay up to date, or how to best secure and manage my collection. If you're asking yourself some of these questions, stay with me, because today, we've got two of the biggest French collectors joining us to provide you with exclusive insights, guidelines, and inspiration. First, we have Cabline, aka Cabline on Twitter. Cabline is a crypto art connoisseur and collector. She's a curator at Object, the biggest NFT marketplace on the Tezos blockchain, and is probably the person to follow if you want to discover some of the best Tezos gems. She's got it all. We'll be joined by no other than Jean-Michel Pailhon, aka GMP. GMP is Ledger's chief of staff, heading the teams that are working on developing the most advanced security solutions to enable you to secure and manage your digital assets. But that's only during the day. At night, he becomes a ruthless NFT collector. Jokes aside, GMP has a deep interest in art. He owns a Parisian gallery and has managed to build quite the NFT collection on both Ethereum and Tezos. Cabline, GMP, welcome to On The Ledger. Glad to have you both here. How are you feeling today?
Well, thank you.
Hello. Yeah, great. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm actually super excited to have you both on the podcast. I admire both of your collections. And I'm very, very curious to dive into your collector's mind and bring some of the conversations that we have in real life to the community that's listening to us at the moment. So let's get to it. On The Ledger Season 2, Inside the Collector's Mind. Here we go. So I usually like to start from the beginning. Cabline, I know that you used to be a lawyer in another life. How did you end up in the non-fungible world? What was that tipping point that made you go like, okay, I'm gonna leave everything behind right now and dive into NFTs?
Yes, it was a bit bad luck, I would say. I was collecting art before, but I was collecting physical pieces. I didn't know much about digital art. And one day I was looking for information about some cryptos. And I saw some Twitter posts about NFTs. I started looking for more information. I saw a giveaway that David Sheffield, he's an artist on Tezos. He was doing a giveaway of a painting, which it is a super beautiful piece. So I noticed that you could buy art that way. And I started collecting a bit. Then after a while it became an addiction. I started collecting a lot. The community on Tezos is absolutely amazing. The artists are very approachable. You can buy something for $3, but they would still talk to you and be happy that you are interested in their work. The collectors are also very active in this community, so it was amazing. And then after a while, I got hired by Object.com. I applied on Twitter and they interviewed me, which is quite a funny way to get hired.
It's amazing. I think, once you dip your toes, it's very, very hard to backtrack because, as you said, there's so much emotions in there. You discover art and then you get to build relationships with people. GMP, you're considered a Bitcoin OG. You've been in the space since 2014, if I'm not mistaken. But you've never actually told me your NFT story. How was your light bulb moment? How did that happen?
Well, so you said as an intro, but I'm a street art collector historically. And so I was collecting physical art for some time. And I was at Ledger when actually the first NFTs, official NFTs popped up in 17. And in 17 and 18, the funny thing is that I looked at NFTs more from a technical angle. So I was intrigued at first by the technicality behind it. But to be quite honest, I've not jumped into that at the time, and I just observed it, and I was intrigued by the technicalities behind it, but not so much about the usage per se. And then gradually, after a couple of years, I took more time to understand it. And at some point, I had this kind of hey moment. And it was about photography, physical photography that you can buy in a traditional art gallery. And I was questioning myself about the origin of the art. And I was questioning myself about the signature of the artist. And I said, wow, this is very expensive photography that is probably worth, I don't know, 5,000 euros, right? Or something like that. And, am I sure that there's only one edition of 10, or is it something that I don't know? And is it really the artist that is signing that? And obviously coming from the tech angle of the crypto space, I knew that blockchain and then for NFT would enable that. And so that's the time that when I basically say, hey, now I understand very fully the technical aspect of it, and I can see the usage. Mm-hmm. So now I jump, and it was probably in late 19 or early 20 that I jump into the NFT space. And then gradually I became, I managed to build, and it had become an addiction actually. So mm-hmm. I'm used to call myself as a compulsive NFT collector. So I'm buying, I am in a buying spree sometimes, and it's quite frightening if you see what happens.
I think we're all in the same situation here, but I love the contrast between both of your NFT light bulb moments. Like Cabline's is very emotional, and yours is super rational. Both are quite interesting. Cabline, you've been collecting NFTs on Tezos for almost a year now, maybe over a year. And during that time, you've built quite a decent collection. Rumor has it you have over 3,000 pieces. So what's your collection vision like? Because when you start collecting over, thousands of pieces, you need to have a certain approach to it. What's your vision?
Yeah, so actually I collected a lot because I like to discover new things, new kinds of art, and a lot of artists. Of course, it's complicated to manage the collection because there's so many pieces. So I'm organizing them in different wallets. I have many. It looks suspicious because I have so many. It's organized by art style. But no, the idea is that I'm looking for pieces of art which would be original, like not something I've already seen before, to have emotions when I just look at that piece. That is something which is very important for me. And actually, there were so many amazing artists. That's why I have so many pieces.
So you have many different wallets,
yes.
And each wallet is a different artistic style.
I have a wallet for glitch art. I have a wallet for everything which is like some illustrations, for paintings, wallet for point cloud pieces, like a lot of wallets actually.
Wow.
Even a wallet for more historical NFTs, like NFTs which have a historical value.
So basically what makes you tick is the emotional connection you feel to the artwork and the storytelling of the artist.
Yeah, I really look at that, and I like to discuss with the artist sometimes about what is the interpretation of the piece. So
GMP, you're active on both Ethereum and Tezos. And I'm really wondering what makes you tick. Because I know that you collect some of the same styles on both chains, but I do know that you have also, other things that makes you interested in certain artists. Could you maybe share more about, what your vision is like and what makes you tick when you see certain artwork?
Yeah, definitely. So actually, I see those two blockchains rather complementary, I would say, even though some artists are minting on both chains. And maybe the way I kind of collect on both also depends on the why of the collection. So actually, I have a very broad collection if you see from the outside, I would say, and if you see the different wallet. But actually, there's a very specific NFT photography collection that I'm trying to build that is mostly on Ethereum because of most of the most famous NFT artists in the photography world, they are on super rare mostly, and those are price tag perspective 5 ETH more. And so this is the kind of NFT photography collection that I'm building, and that's very specific on Ethereum and very specific again on Super Rare and sometimes also on other platforms. And then I have a journey, I would say, as a collector. So I'm learning every day. I am building my collection as I walk, I would say. And for that, I would say that especially for the past 6 months, I have been extremely active on Tezos and therefore on object.com because I really found a place where I could do what I could do probably a year and a half or 2 years ago on Ethereum, which is discovering or collecting a lot of artists I like at a reasonable price. And also obviously from a transaction perspective with much less transaction because basically transaction is like less than it's 25 cents or something maximum. And obviously if you do that on Ethereum, it's probably 50, 70 or 100 USD. So yeah, I've really a collection in the making, I would say. And the collection in the making is mostly right now on Tezos. Actually, right now, when we speak about January 2022.
Okay, very interesting. I'd like to dive a little bit more into that. So if someone's listening to us and they've just started buying NFTs, what are the different steps you would advise them to follow? So what I mean by steps is there is the research phase, but there's also the strategy phase in terms of allocations. Do you think of allocations in terms of percentages? Or you say, okay, I'm going to allocate X percentage of my collection towards this style of art or towards this artist, and then in terms of managing the growth of certain artists and taking profit at certain points, like how do you think of all of these aspects? That's a question to both of you, so feel free to go first.
So usually when I buy a piece, I buy 2 editions. I'm not doing that anymore because of budget problems. I bought too many NFTs, I think. But yes, usually that's the strategy, to buy 2 pieces and then to resell one to cover the initial investment and keep the other one just for the gallery and or maybe in the future to resell it, but in the long term. And it is something that I didn't do at the beginning and I regret it because it's very complicated then when you have an NFT which becomes very valuable and you only have 1 edition. It's either you sell it and you can buy a lot of other NFTs and support other artists, but you will lose that NFT or you just keep it and you don't get any money. So it's better to have 2 editions. Even 3 editions for some artists, it might be more manageable that way. It's something I don't do myself because of I would need a bigger budget to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of the tricky aspect there, but I completely feel you, and that resonates a lot with me. What's your take on that, GMP?
So actually, the fact and the advice of Omblin regarding buying 2 if you can is definitely a very good idea, because then you can at some point sell one of those because the price appreciation, and actually sometimes it can repay the 2 that you bought initially. So that's a fairly good advice to say. And again, it all depends, if you like the art first, it's very important. Second, obviously it needs to be affordable for your budget. But I wanted more to come back to your initial question, which is, okay, what as a entry investor or entry collector in the NFT space, how you do it? Honestly, there is no proper plan. It all depends on your mindset. We just see in this podcast that actually we have someone that is more analytical and rational, like myself, with a kind of analyst approach of collection. But even though sometimes I'm using also my intuition a lot, and sometimes I've got a big discovery, and then I become crazy about the things, and I'm buying everything I can do on special art. But it all depends on the personality, and I think that the collection of someone actually most of the time should comply with your mindset. And so you should act as you act in life, and you build your collection like you act in life. And therefore, if you are rational, probably that you will prepare your collection in advance, and you will spot a little bit. You will say, hey, I'm spending, I don't know, $300 euro or USD, and I will probably buy 50 of 3 T's and 50 of 6 or something. I don't know, but sometimes based on the price, based on the type of art, is it generative art, is it photography, is it? So you can do whatever you want actually, but I think that my advice for the beginners would be to actually try and learn, and therefore maybe not to stick to a plan too much, but to let them guiding into the experience and to buy a little bit, to understand how it works, to see how they feel about the acquisition, and do they want to buy another one after, or do they I've made a bad choice and I want to sell it. And they need to learn. So I would advise to spend a little bit of time to learn and to try, and then therefore after that maybe building a proper vision and a proper strategy regarding the way the collection could look like.
Interesting. That's actually quite interesting. And there is another kind of aspect to that, is the aspect of security. How do you think of securing, about security in general, and how do you actually secure your collections? Like for you, Cabline, you have 10 different wallets. I'm not gonna I don't want you to kind of reveal all your security tactics, but as an overview, how would you explain it, and how would you advise people who are getting into this world with regards to securing digital art?
I'm using a ledger, and but the thing is, usually I advise people to have one, because even if you have NFTs which are not valuable now, they may be in the future. I saw some NFTs which were worth 5 Tezos, which are now worth much more. So it makes sense to take security into consideration. I see a lot of horror stories of people who lost the NFTs, and it's something which needs to be even more communicated to the people who start.
Of course. And this is not an advertisement for Ledger. We're really, having, very serious discussion about how actually collectors do manage their collections. And with all what's been happening, in GMP, you're pretty aware of everything that's been happening in the space. How would you start in terms of, would you start right away with a hardware wallet? That was what you'd advise people to do?
So it all depends. Funny enough, I'm a bit conflicted there, but actually that's good, because that makes me also understanding the user better. So it all depends on the budget that you have. So my advice again, and based on also my experience and the experience of the people that I've onboarded into cryptos and NFTs specifically in the last 6 months, let's say, I would say that if you want to just discover and you just want to spend, let's say, 200, 300 euros equivalent in crypto, and specifically in Tezos, because with Ether, again, it will not do much with that in NFTs, but you can probably go with a hot wallet. So you have many software wallets that are in the market that are doing good hot wallet, and maybe that you can buy an hardware wallet on the side and not set it up immediately, or you can set it up, but you wait for having your collection increasing in value. And then basically you have 2 wallets. You have one hot wallet with which you are buying, and discovering the universe of NFTs. And then a second wallet that is in your hardware wallet, or that is connected to your hardware wallet, that you send the NFTs when they arrive at a certain price, because they increase in value, or because you put more money into your wallet. So this is the way I would see things. And also, actually, at the end of the day, it's always good to have both a hot wallet and a cold wallet, or actually a wallet that is secured by Ledger, because as you know, with an wallet, you need to sign the transaction with your hardware wallet. It takes a little bit more time than with a software wallet, but you have the security and the peace of mind, obviously. And for some kind of fast trading or fast acquisition, sometimes you might need to go quick, and you might need to go on a hot. But then what's in your hot wallet, then you can transfer it to the cold. So actually, I think that both are working quite well in terms of ease of use, but obviously in terms of peace of mind and security, and beyond the fact that we are Ledger, but I think it's paramount to everybody to understand that the only way to really, really have the security of your NFTs and to have the ownership, the proper ownership of your NFTs, is to have your on the address that is connected to your private keys that are themselves deriving from your master seed. that is secured in your hardware wallet. That's the only way, because you never know what will happen in 5 years, 10 years, and maybe that the NFT that you are buying today that is only worth 200, maybe it will be worth 100 times that, and in the end you will be happy to have that secured.
Yeah, 100%. Like I honestly can't sleep at night if I have assets that are sitting in a hot wallet, but that's me. So anyway, I'd like to talk more about the collection, and the aspect that, digital ownership now has given us new possibilities of identity formation by liberating us from some of the physical limits of self-expression. So when you approach your collection, do you see it as an extension of your identity, or do you think about it as a rational investment?
It is both, because it allows me to express my personality in a way, or I see some pieces with which I connect a lot, and I feel like that the artist understands some of my feelings, and I have part of my collection which is like that. And I also have pieces from artists who are doing art I consider very interesting conceptually. So for these pieces, it's a bit more rational. I know that for some people, everything is super rational. So it depends. I still have an Excel file to manage my collections. In a way, I think there is some rational part behind it.
Yeah, I think there's always like kind of a certain equilibrium that you need to hit. What's your take on that, GMP?
So maybe my answer would be that actually a collection of someone is always telling a lot about this person, I would say. Not necessarily everything, but at least it shows, normally what you like, even though, again, I'm very rational. What you can see is that, especially from my NFT photography collection, I would say, because there are less noise than with the rest, that is a bit, there are many, many things, and therefore it's probably complex to understand, what is happening in my head when I buy NFTs. But if you look at the NFT photography gallery, then it's probably clearer, what I like, the type of value I have, etc., etc. So for the later, I would say that yes, it's a way to know a little bit my personality, and probably also a way for me to express my personality somehow. But that's more for the sophisticated collection. Again, for the other one, I'm not so sure that a psychologist would be very happy to analyze what I'm buying.
Yeah, you have some guilty pleasures. I know that. Cabline, let's talk a little bit more about Tezos and Object. The scene and the ecosystem at the moment is clearly becoming a massive creative hub for artists and creators. Why do you think that shift is happening?
Well, so on Tezos, it's possible for a lot of artists to mint their pieces for a very low price. So it is a good opportunity for artists from Latin America, for instance, to sell their art to collectors from all over the world. And they couldn't do that on Ethereum. They can do that on Tezos, and the community is very vibrant, very active. I think it's because of this community that things have started to move a lot.
Interesting shift that's happening at the moment. And GMP, you're a big fan of Tezos as well. Yesterday, you had a Tezos event at your physical gallery. So, speaking of your physical gallery, I like that approach of using both mediums at the same time, the physical and the digital one. Maybe you could speak more about the initiatives that you're doing at your physical gallery. I'm also curious about how that was received by your initial clientele that used to come for the physical art.
Yes, so literally my gallery is a small gallery, but it's really a laboratory for me. It's a laboratory of ideas. It's a laboratory to discover artists, and obviously to launch new artists and new waves, and new trends. Basically, NFT were perfectly fit for this strategy. And why Tezos, and why merging the physical and the digital art? Because we are so early, so early, in crypto, and probably people that are listening to this podcast, etc. But probably that there are, 2 million, 3 million persons in the world that are collecting NFTs, maybe even less than that, I don't know. So we are very, very early, and therefore we need to create bridge. We need to bring a lot of people, to onboard a lot of people, and to bring people from the old world to the new world. So as Amblin told about her uncle being an artist and not being yet minting his art on a blockchain, I think our role globally, and specifically us, is to bring new people, both on the artist side, but also on the collector side. And therefore, a gallery again is a great place. So the gallery is near Bastille. It's called Acheter de l'Art in France, and it's a funny. So yes, we have a very interesting feedback from both the collectors and the artists. Some of the collectors, especially when they are quite young, they get it immediately. Collectors that are 35 years old maximum, they totally get it very rapidly. And I'm not even talking about the guys that are 20 and less. For them, it's immediate. If you get into people that are in their 40 plus, it becomes more difficult, and it takes them more time. So it looks as if it's a generation shift. And so the kind of parallel I take is, when you have a new app like some years ago, TikTok or even Snapchat a decade ago, usually, the young guys understand it immediately, and the old guys a little bit more slowly. So for me, NFT is simply as that. But I suspect that actually it will change. And just like when Facebook popped up, only the guys at university were using it, and eventually now your grandma is using Facebook still. So probably that in 10 years, everybody will have NFTs, and even our grandma will actually buy NFTs.
I'm looking forward to that day. But that actually ties perfectly into another question I wanted to ask you, GMP. Clearly NFTs are becoming the main crypto on-ramp. However, the space still has a lot of frictions to solve, especially when it comes to security. So in your opinion, what are the main things that need to be addressed? And how are you working on that with your teams at Ledger?
So I think that we have a big challenge in front of us, which is, yes, it's very convenient to buy and exchange NFTs once you are onboarded. It means that between us, the one that is in this podcast, we all have our address, we all have our wallet, we all have a connection with our wallet to specific platform, whether it's object.com or OpenSea or SuperRare or whatever. And therefore, we are already there, and we can quite easily transact. We can quite easily buy, we can quite easily sell, and we can swap, we can even mint if we want. So that's quite easy for us. But the challenge is more, how do we bring the next million or the next 10 million or the next billion of people inside NFTs? And this is part of, I think, the mission of everybody, whether we are working for object.com or ledger.com, is to provide the proper on-ramp, the easy on-ramp to those people, so that they can quite easily and securely, buy their first NFTs, and have the proper support in terms of, understanding what they are doing, but also have pleasure to do what they do. Because obviously, when you usually come in the first place into crypto, apart if you are cryptographic engineers, most of the time it's not an easy path, because there's a bit of, it's a new world, so you need to have new understanding. And I think that, again, it's about not only the technicalities and the technological environment of the platform, of the software, or even of the hardware. It's all about the story also, and how we explain to people. So it's also about education. It's also about having some special services and some people that are taking time to onboard people. And then eventually it will become as easy and as plug and play, as we have right now when we buy a mobile phone or laptop. We don't think much, and we directly connect ourselves to the Wi-Fi immediately. This kind of thing will happen probably in the next 3 to 4 years in the NFT space, I think.
Yeah, I think we all agree about that. And Cabline, adoption is deeply correlated with the quality of the user experience. And Object's been shipping some impressive functionalities lately. I love this follow button there with those notifications. They just make life so much easier. To me, it feels like NFT marketplaces are on the verge of becoming the social media of Web3. Like, I'm spending a lot more time on Object than I'm spending on Instagram. What's your take on that? Are you thinking of, Object as being a future social media?
Well, I know that the users of Object don't really like social media. Not necessarily. They're not necessarily big fans of Instagram or Facebook. But some aspects are close to what you can see on the social media. So the community, the fact that you can follow artists, of course, it's you can follow exactly what they're doing. You can contact them more easily. You can see who they are following, so you can know a bit more about who they like, what are their inspirations, etc. So these aspects are very important, and we will continue to add other features like this.
Any sneak peeks for us?
I don't know exactly what I can say, but we will increase the discoverability of art pieces, which is still at the moment it's not optimal yet, and it's really for the new collectors who arrive. It's still complicated to find art that will speak to them. So this is going to be improved.
Okay, that's very interesting. We'll be looking forward to that. So it's time to move on to the last segment of the show. We like to finish on a more playful note, so I'll be asking you a list of rapid fire questions that you'll answer in turn, and some of them will be harder than others. But the whole idea is that you shouldn't think for too long, okay? Are you ready?
I guess.
This is rapid fire. So, let me start with the first question. What's your biggest NFT category in your collection?
PFPs.
Interesting. Cabline?
I'm not even sure because I collected a lot of paintings at the beginning, but after a while I discovered generative art, and I think that's a lot of my collection at the moment.
What's the NFT acquisition that you're most proud of, GMP?
Well, it's tough. It's tough because I did a couple of in the past few days. Brendan Fraser photography was a photograph I was watching for months, if not years.
Okay. Cabline?
So it would be a 1-1 by Gary Cartridge, Troy Fitzpatrick. It's an artist who releases some NFTs on object on some. He has several accounts on object, and it's quite hard to get his NFTs. And I got it. I was quick, and I got it. So it's an NFT I really like.
Awesome. What about your biggest NFT regret?
Oh la la. I don't have much regret in life usually, so it's a bit philosophical, but maybe just having missed the CryptoPunks. I looked at the CryptoPunks on many occasions, and every time I looked at them, I said, hey, they are a bit too expensive, so let's wait for a little price correction. They don't really, the price correction never happened, and at some point you cannot afford anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I think CryptoPunks are one of my biggest regrets as well.
I wanted to buy a 1-1 from Mario Klingemann, Quasimodo, and it was at Tezos. I didn't have enough. And when I had enough, it was sold to someone else, and now the price has increased. So at the moment, it's my biggest regret. And but it's like this. I have a lot of amazing NFTs, so it's cool.
Maybe one day. So what about the young artist that you'd bet a Bitcoin on? If you had a Bitcoin to bet on a young artist.
I have this young photographer that I bought actually just 2 days ago that I like a lot. That is coming from India and that made a beautiful piece. That I don't want to say her name incorrectly, so just let me find her name if you allow me to do so. It's Ina Jarej. Yeah, Ina, she did an amazing photography with a bit of painting on it, and yeah, it really blew my mind when I saw that. So that would be my pick for today.
Okay, Ina, you have a lot of pressure on you. 1 Bitcoin. Cabline.
Yeah, so young, I don't know how young all the artists are. So I would say Laurence Fuller, but I really say all the time that I like his pieces. But I bought a 1-1 on Ethereum. Like it's almost one of my only piece on Ethereum. So it's not 1 Bitcoin, but it was like I already bet a lot on this because it's like using some classical art and reinterpreting it and adding some poetry. I think it's amazing.
Childish force of nature, my swelling body swims with salt drops dropping in pools of unexpected pleasure, crashing water weeds washing over the spirits with me. Together we crossed over the top layer before we get sucked under the other underneath pulled out to sea. Working through that introspection to the other side of a long-lost handle on the inner dissonance of myself.
What about your guilty pleasure collection?
For me, it's the PFPs.
For me, it's normal business, right? It's not guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasure would probably be, I don't know, some, how could I say that? Some funny things that are a bit weird, and you never quite know. Not exactly like people, but sometimes, those kind of digital art that is looking like a bit weird and you're not totally comfortable looking at it. But at least it creates an emotion. So therefore, it brings something to the table from an art perspective. So this would be my pick. And I don't have any name on that per se, but this would be the kind of thing I'm sometimes buying for the sake of being surprised.
Last question of the day. What would be your ultimate tip to an NFT first grader? If you had one tip you needed to give someone.
Open a Tezos wallet, spend $100 with that, and you will jump into the rabbit hole.
Cabline?
Well, for me, it's quite similar. And do your own research, find information about the artist, look at the prices on the market, try to discuss with other collectors, and then you can start building a very nice collection.
Okay. You cheated there. There's like 5 tips, but I'll take it. It's
Yeah.
good. I'll add one from my side. It's always buy what you love. This is super important. We'll leave it there. Cabline, Jean-Michel, thanks a lot for joining us. It was a great pleasure. I loved having you, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
That's it. I hope you took out as much learnings as I did from that conversation. Remember to do your own research, buy what you love, and always make sure to secure your NFTs with a hardware wallet. And most importantly, enjoy your ride. This was On The Ledger from Paris with your host Moel Sayed. Till next time, take care. Au revoir. This content is provided for informational purposes only and is the sole expression of our opinion, and should not be relied upon as legal, business, investment, or tax advice. Do your own research. Any loss or profit is your sole responsibility. Stay safe.